everyone, it's Gel. First things first, would y'all mind if I actually moved my channel, like, made a second separate GameBabble channel to upload all my GameBabble episodes and the GameMetables and the Gel's Game Archives and the Gaming with Gel, all the really good gaming stuff, and, like, move it there instead of having it here? The main reason I ask that is because this channel is kind of a cluttered mess. Yo, I grabbed the channel way back when. I think it's been like 6 or 7 years since I, like, got the channel, and I just got it so that way I could post videos to show my friends. You know, there's a lot of just random clips from anime and video games, just shit I wanted to share with people, and then I was like, oh, I want to do a review show, that'll be super fun, let's get that going on. Like, as soon as I got, like, proper broadband, I started doing that, and way back then, I think YouTube actually had a policy that you were only supposed to have one channel per person, even though no one followed it. I believe it was a bannable offense. They've since changed that, because no one followed that rule, and honestly, it makes things way more organized if you do separate your things. And, well, since then, I've sort of been like, I should really make a separate GameBabble channel. So, everyone cool with that? Does anyone have any objections to that? Would that cause any, like, kinks in anyone's plans or whatever? Like, having to subscribe to a second channel? I'll let you know when I get the channel, you know. There will be a I have moved video. And then I'm just gonna use this channel for uploading just my random crap, like I normally do, you know, just the random things I want to show my friends, and stupid music videos and stuff, because I've actually made a couple music videos, anime music videos, game music videos, stuff involving Rumble Rose's stupid crap, that's just sitting on my hard drive that I haven't posted, because, you know, I make them for my own enjoyment, and it's like, man, it'd be super awkward if I just uploaded that to my channel now. That would be really weird. At the same time, though, I'm not quite sure how the messaging and everything would work out if I did make a second channel, but I think it would generally be better if I had a separate GameBabble channel. So, everyone cool with that? That sound good? Awesome. Moving on, fuck, I feel old. Yeah, out of nowhere, I get a lot of, like, friend requests on PSN and Xbox Live. Like, not as many as, like, other people, but, you know, I get, like, 5 or 6 of them from just people I don't know. And if you're a fan of the show, and you're trying to friend me or whatever, just let me know, okay? Just, like, send me a message. That's the big thing, because I don't like to just, yo, accept every friend request I get, right? So, got this friend request, get a message, says sup, hi. Turns out it's this 11-year-old kid who, quote-unquote, his dream was to fight me in Sonic the Fighters. And that is the worst dream ever, but okay, why not? We fought in Sonic the Fighters, and he kicked my ass. Like, pro tip, never underestimate the kids. I mean, I know, like, in the Call of Duties and stuff, people like to make fun of anyone that has a high-pitched, like, kid voice. But, real talk, yo, sometimes they're way better than us old fogies, and yeah, fighting against him made me realize just how damn old I am. I mean, it's weird to think about. Like, he wasn't even alive when that game was made. Like, he was actually asking me what was up with Amy having Sonic hair. Because he seriously never remembered that. It's like, man, I feel old now. And that's such a weird thing to think about, how long it's been. Like, when I was working at Walgreens, I was thinking about, yo, I got these friggin' high school age kids working there. It's like, wow, you people are my coworkers, and you weren't even alive before polygons. Like, you've never known a world without polygons. And that's sort of the reason why there's a lot of good to that little passage of time there. Because now the whole 2D versus 3D thing is honestly pretty much a thing of the past. I do not hear anyone, you know, try to claim that 2D or 3D is better anymore. Because nowadays we have so many good 2D games coming out. You know, they're not they're not the majority, but there's enough of them that it would just be awkward to complain about them. 2D and 3D have pretty much, for the most part, found their niches. There's still some people trying in vain to move 2D games to 3D and, like, screwing up horribly. But generally speaking, 2D and 3D have found their thing, and people don't do sprites versus polygons, not in the same way anymore. Like, you could see a game and go, this game would look better in 3D, or this game would look better in 2D, but it isn't the automatic 3D is automatically better than 2D. That's a thing of the past, and I'm so happy. But at the same time, man, it is weird to try to, like, imagine yourself in the position of some of these younger gamers, because I was born in 1985, so that was still the dawn of video games. I was looking at it. 1985 is basically the dawn of character design in video games. That's when characters could be, like, more than one single sprite block, when you could put multiple sprite blocks together to make your sprites, and they could actually be, like, bigger and have design and not just be squares, pretty much. 1985 was, like, the starting point for that, so that was still really, really early in the history of video games. Going back playing Atari and Pong didn't feel all that weird comparatively, but now, kids who have only known the Xbox 360, having them go back and play NES and Super NES and all the classics on that, it's gotta be weird. Like, I really, it's a weird thing to think about, but at the same time, I know there was, like, briefly a fad of kids trying to follow in the angry video game nerds' footsteps and just complain about old games for being old, but I think they got curb stomped into the ground by us old fogies, because it's like, no, try again, because so weird, a lot of old games are just so much better than modern games. A lot of old games aren't, too. It's a very big split, but there's a lot of really good old stuff. I don't know, it's gotta be weird, like, looking back in the past, seeing those things. I have a hard time even fathoming that, as a game collector, historian guy who has, like, 50 different game systems, is all about, this is the history of this system, and this is why they made this system and did this thing, and this was why this system flopped. Just imagining being, like, having that much history of games behind you that you have to look at. But at the same time, this is a funny thing, retro sprites are so classical that it's a stylized thing now. A lot of indie developers do it. So, a lot of old games, you look at them and you go, yeah, I know this is old, but, like, I think it doesn't really register as bad quite so much. It's just more, this is an old video game. No, I can't imagine anyone, like, actually complaining about the way Super Mario Brothers looks, and I don't think anyone ever does. It looks like Super Mario Brothers. It's a classic. It's a weird thing to think about. Man, I'm just stumbling all over the place. I need to change topics because I have nothing to say other than, man, that's weird to think about. I feel old now. I feel real old. Moving on, speaking of crazy new things, though, I was actually kicking around doing yet another sub-series, a sub-series of a sub-series, if you will. Specifically doing a bunch of Gels game archives on rail shooters. Chase view rail shooters, specifically, Star Fox style ones. Because that's actually one of my all-time favorite genres. I think it's a genre that's sorely overlooked. Like, they were super popular, and they made a bunch of them way back in, like, the 80s and, like, 90s. But as soon as polygons entered the scene, they didn't really make them anymore. Like, not nearly as much, because the main reason people made those games was because it was the easiest kind of 3D game you could do with sprite scale. When they had actual polygons, they could build actual worlds. They expanded out from that, and as such, I think the evolution and growth of the genre has kind of been stunted, at the same time kind of deserves to be examined. I really like those kinds of games, and I think it would be super cool to, like, highlight a bunch of them. Not like proper reviews, not like a top 10 list, just going out of my way to point out rail shooters. Like, call it the Rail Shooter Archives. Like, I've considered starting a separate blog of just the Rail Shooter Archive, which I might, or I might incorporate it in a GameMetabble blog, I'm not sure, but I really like rail shooters. So I'm kicking that around. I think that might be fun, and my main reasoning behind this, the thing that really inspired me, is this game here, G-Vector. It's a Sega Saturn game. It doesn't look very good. It's very rough around the edges. But I had fun with it, and I had no clue it existed. And of course I did. It's not a good-looking game. It's not a particularly great rail shooter. It's a very middle-of-the-road average rail shooter that it's just okay, but when you're starving for a rail shooter, it's all of a sudden that looks a lot tastier. And then I find it's like PS1 equivalent, which is EOS Edge of Skyhigh, which they released on PSN, and I downloaded it on my PS3, and that is not a very good-looking rail shooter, but it plays pretty darn nice. It's actually pretty cool. And then you get into things like Soul Star, which is a Sega CD game that, in every respect, still holds up today. Like, it feels completely modern, for better or for worse. I just wish it had less off-rail stages, because the off-rail stages are too hard for me to get past. They're really awkward, the first one especially. But, fuck, the rail shooting in it is so beautiful. Like, there's so... You see what I mean, though? There's so many just weird, offbeat rail shooters I really, really want to highlight and talk about. So I'm thinking I'm going to do that. Probably I'm going to do that, because no one's going to give a shit, but I'm going to do it anyway. And speaking of old genres I love and am kind of researching, trying to cook up a top 10 list of the deepest beat-em-ups ever made. Obviously, Denjin Makai 2 is at the top of the list. I did... Like, I need to do an episode on Denjin Makai. Just, that game is amazing. It curb stomps the entire genre, as far as I can tell. I did try Sengoku 3, tried Shadow Force. Obviously, there's Super Double Dragon I need to look more into, but I played Double Dragon Advance, obviously, Double Dragon Neon. River City Ransom, of course, I'd be listing EX if I did. Golden Axe 3 is sorely underrated. It would make the list. I'm gonna look into Final Fights 2 and 3 again. Streets of Rage 2 and 3 again. Dragon's Crown and Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks are on the list. I actually went out and picked up a US copy of Guilty Gear Asuka to try Boost Mode again. Okay, yeah, those would not make the list. Boost Mode and Tekken Force Mode would not make the list. Because they're just way too awkward to play. Like, they're great in concept and they're fun bonuses, but they're not, like, the greatest beat-em-ups ever made. They're very, very awkward. So there's those, and all of the ones that play like Guardian Heroes are going in the special, I forget the word for it. They get a nod, okay? All of them. Guardian Heroes, Panzer Bandit, Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds. They would all get mentioned, but they wouldn't be on the list, because they're sort of a sub-genre of the beat-em-up, the line-based beat-em-up. And, number one, they would flood the list, because they're all really good. And number two, they play different enough from beat-em-ups, like the normal beat-em-ups, that I don't really want to list them as like part of the beat-em-up list. You get what I mean? At the same time, so I bring this up because if anyone has any beat-em-ups they would like to recommend to me that they felt were super deep and deserve another look, go ahead, post them in the comments. I'm probably gonna wander on over to Assembler Games, because I haven't posted there in eons, and ask them what they think. Like, if there's any super deep beat-em-ups I'm missing, because real talk, it's the weirdest thing. Oh, Battle Circuit, that's also on the list. And, of course, D&D Shadow of Mystara. Weird thing, though, is that all the super deep, awesome beat-em-ups, like, almost all of them, at least, are really obscure. Like, they did not take off at all. Usually, I think, because they weren't licensed, and licensed beat-em-ups ruled the day back then. Obviously, they were 2D, so if they came out after 1995, they were immediately outdated due to being 2D. Like I said, I'm so glad that shit's over, pretty much. And number 3, I had a third point. Oh, right. The fact they didn't make it clear enough that they were deeper than the average brawler. Which brings me to another point. My good buddy Regal Sin, you might be familiar with him, Regal Sin commented on my last video on my blog, and he was like, Dynasty Warriors is not a beat-em-up. And I really should have mentioned that. No, Dynasty Warriors is not quite a beat-em-up, but it's a close relative. Like, I would consider it sort of a spin-off genre. There's a lot to think. This is probably going to be one of those episodes I forget to do and never get around to because I'm a lazy bastard. But I need to do an episode just talking about the nature of video game genres. And their combined importance and unimportance. But yes, I would consider Dynasty Warriors sort of a spin-off genre. It shares a lot of DNA with the beat-em-up, but it sort of evolved into its own thing, which I believe Wikipedia, I like this, Wikipedia calls it the crowd combat fighter. Which, when you consider that beat-em-ups are also called belt-scrolling fighters, that about describes it. Alright, they're all sort of fighting games. And that's a weird thing to think about there, because people say, well, they're not really fighting games. Well, I would consider beat-em-ups to be the cooperative version of a fighting game. A beat-em-up is kind of a co-op. I've mentioned this before. Beat-em-ups are kind of co-op fighters, whereas the normal fighting games, what we call fighting games, are competitive fighters. They're intertwined, because, I mean, what the fuck is a fighting game? A fighting game is a game where you fight people, right? That would describe it. So, beat-em-ups are cooperative fighters. Fighting games are competitive fighters. And then Dynasty Warriors is a crowd combat fighter, a game about fighting crowds. It's about crowd control. Weirdly, Regal Sin called it a strategy RPG. I'm not so sure on that, but whatever. I like crowd combat fighter. And speaking of fighters, oh my shit! This is my favorite thing. You know, I guess we're already on the topic of genres, so fuck it, why not? Going all the way. Didn't get lazy anymore. Smash Brothers, party fighter. I hate the whole, is it a fighting game? Is it a party game? It's a party fighter. It is a subtype of fighter. It is a fighter that is more than one-on-one, which is actually a genre I also have just the greatest fascination in. In fact, I just picked up It sounds so silly saying this, Wu-Tang Shaolin style, in order to further research the 4-player fighting game. Because it's such a great concept. A fighting game where it's not just one-on-one, but 4 people all brawling it out. But finding one that's actually really good is hard. Smash Brothers is the best in that genre of party fighter, which I'm so comfortable with that term. Like, that's why I'd consider Power Stone. It's also a party fighter. And obviously, Wu-Tang Shaolin style, that's a party fighter. Urban Rain. Really good party fighter. I guess we'd consider, Def Jam, Fight for New York and Vendetta and all that. I think that's sort of weirdly between fighter and wrestling game. Which, wow, talking about genres, that's a weird thing. Is a wrestling game a fighter? I mean, it's gotta be related. It's a game where you fight, but you don't... It's completely different from a fighting game because it's a wrestling game. So, yeah, okay. I I guess you could kind of call a party fighter being the middle ground between a fighting game and a wrestling game, you know, especially looking at Wu-Tang Shaolin style, Urban Reign, and Def Jam. So, you're seeing what I mean about... fuck it, I don't know what I mean about genres, but I'm talking genres here. Like I said, fuck it, what is the purpose of a genre? A genre exists, at least to me, I didn't look it up, but genres exist as a means of classification, of a way of saying, these games are very similar. So we aren't just calling it a Doom clone, it's a first-person shooter. Because just calling everything that's a first-person shooter a Doom clone sounds really fucking conceited, if you ask me. Same way I hate it when, like, fighting games are called Street Fighter clones, and don't even get me started on Devil May Cry clones. For some reason, I don't like Devil May Cry, but I like all the clones because they were nothing like Devil May Cry. Oh, guess what? I could say the same thing about Monster Hunter. So the purpose of genres is to classify like games. And as such, there are subgenres to say these games are, a genre would be an the genre is the overarching thing, and then the subgenres, like, further classify things to say, well, all these games are kind of similar, these are more similar than these. So, yes, technically speaking, Smash Brothers, Street Fighter, and Streets of Rage are all way, way more similar to one another than Tetris or Pac-Man. They are all fighting games. They're all games about fighting. However, Smash Brothers and Power Stone are more similar than Smash Brothers and Street Fighter. And, like, Street Fighter and King of Fighters are more similar than Street Fighter and Streets of Rage. And Streets of Rage and Golden Axe are more you get the idea. So, I think it's okay to sort of invent sub-classifications. Because how do you even say that Smash Brothers isn't a fighting game? It is a game where you have characters that fight one another. It's even a competitive one. You know? You pick from a variety of characters. The goal is to fight each other with a selection of moves, and the characters are all of approximately equal strength. However, it's a fighting game that's meant to be played 4-player, i.e. with a party of people. And, so it's a party fighter. I need to look more into party fighters. It's a genre that conceptually I like, but so many of them aren't very good. I need to give the versus mode in the Bouncer a deeper look. Because I remember one of the big things, there's a lot of, I guess we'll call them free-running fighters, the ones that are like Power Stone 1, where they're almost a party fighter, but they're inexplicably one-on-one. There's a bunch of those that I wish weren't one-on-one. They should be 4-player. Like, all the One Piece Grand Battle games. Those are so good, but they're only one-on-one. Why? And Air Guys, fuck Air Guys pissed me off. It's like, it's a fighting game, except why is this not 4-player? Why is it one-on-one? That might have been Polygon Punches, though, but still, that annoyed me. Heck, Power Stone 1. I keep hearing people say Power Stone 1's the good one, Power Stone 2's the bad one. Fuck that shit. No. When I played Power Stone 1, I just sat there going, why isn't this 4-player? Why is this 4-player? This is a shit one-on-one fighting game. It really is. I'm sorry. No. Power Stone... Air Guys is better than Power Stone, damn it. They're the same damn game, but Air Guys has a bigger move list. It has juggles and combos. There's more you can do in terms of the fighting. Power Stone may have more interactive arenas, items, and crap, but that doesn't really add the same kind of depth to the actual combat that Air Guys does. So, yeah, Air Guys, way better than Power Stone. A funny story, it actually predates Power Stone by a couple months. Thing that kind of annoys me. I don't even think Air Guys is that good. It's a game I really want to like, but never can get into. But Air Guys is the same kind of game as Power Stone, and it came out before Power Stone, and I'm going to go ahead and call it better than Power Stone on principle. Power Stone 1. Power Stone 2, on the other hand, that's good, not only because it's 4-player, but because they cranked the items up to 11, which admittedly makes it almost not a fighting game. I don't know, now we're getting into is it a party game territory, I guess, because it's a lot like Poi Poi, Pointer's Point, that game with the bomb throwing. Yeah, because the game is all about just grabbing items and using items, and there are so many items in that game. So much going on with the stage that the fact that the actual one-on-one melee fighting combat is shallow as a puddle doesn't matter anymore. Man, I have a weird relationship with Power Stone. I love the universe, I love the characters, I love the concept, but Power Stone 1 sucks. If you can explain what makes that game so good as a fighting game, not just like as a single player experience, it's way better because it's more character focused, it's more zoomed in, the presentation on it is better. If you just want to get to know the world of the characters, Power Stone 1 is better. But as a game, you play against your friends, Power Stone 2 is way better. That's not even getting into the whole jump, the whole dive kick issue. Because, yeah, dive kicks in Power Stone 1 are grossly overpowered, and the whole game just turns into dive kicking one another to collect the Power Stones. It is the original dive kick. Look into your soul, you know it to be true. Oh my fuck, what am I even rambling about anymore? I don't remember. I probably should have done a Gels Game Archive on that Transformers game over there. I should really consider that. I mean, it's kind of a crap game, but maybe I should do that. I don't know. Does anyone care? Balls. Anyway, this is Gel. I hope you've enjoyed me rambling on for nearly a half an hour about effectively Jack and shit. Oh, yeah, wow, I didn't even get on that topic. I was talking about, like, kids these days and and how weird it must be. Motherfucking Sega Saturn. I was on a Sega Saturn kick recently, started playing that shit. The store that sells Saturn games near me, it was called the Game Trader. It closed down recently. And so I've been looking for other places to get Saturn games from, looking at V-Stock at Slackers. As Slackers at the closest mall to me, like, actually stopped carrying Saturn games because they had so few. And man, finding Saturn games, US Saturn games in the wild, hard as fuck. I mean, we really didn't get a lot of Saturn games. That thing really didn't take off in America. Fuck, you had to import to get, like, anything good on that thing. Well, not to get anything good, but to get a lot of the good stuff was just import only. That was, man, that was, like, the import console. And, like, yeah, getting Saturn games is so hard, it's so rare. Man, kids gotta be missing out. Have we made progress in Saturn emulation? It looks like we have, based on what I'm seeing on Hardcore Gaming 101. Like, those are some crispy-ass screenshots. I gotta be emulating that shit. I remember last time I tried to emulate it, it wasn't going so well. Have we made good progress on that? I hope so. I seriously fucking hope so. Because kids gotta play them some Saturn games. Like, I didn't pick up the Saturn until it was in the bargain bin at Grandpa's. That was a store that used to exist, by the way. I remember exactly where I bought my Saturn. And it was to play Guardian Heroes, because the Ropers are awesome. And, like, so I didn't pick it up until way later. But, yo, actually getting into the games, there's a lot of awesome stuff on the Saturn. And, man, kids can't miss out on that shit. They need to get some of that in their bloodstream. And it makes me feel bad, because I have this one friend. He's in, I think he's in Scotland or something. He's gonna yell at me. But I remember, I haven't talked to him in a while, but I remember he got into an Xbox Live party with me and Fats, and he was like, okay, I got a Saturn, what games do I need on, what games should I get on it? And my mind was just completely blank. Because I wasn't prepared, you know, I wasn't in a Saturn kick, so my mind wasn't really clicking all the good Saturn games going on. And, oh my shit, Fats just kept listing off, like, every single Capcom fighter. And he was like, no arcade ports, because I could just emulate those arcade perfectly. They've been re-released, and they're, like, way better now. No arcade ports. They'd go, oh. And then, like, he would turn around, and he would continue listing arcade ports. And the guy was like, this is the problem I'm having, is all the good Saturn games were just, like, the best arcade ports at the time, but now we can do literal arcade perfection through emulation. So a lot of that stuff feels really pointless. And I do agree. When it comes to good Saturn games, we gotta get into the Assault Suit Lanos 2, Legend of Oasis I'm really trying to get into, Magic Knight Rayearth, I guess, been playing that. Not as good as I remember it being. Yeah, you got your Panzer Dragoon 1-2 Saga, your Burning Rangers, and Twinkle Star Sprites, because, again, I know that's an arcade port, but the Saturn one's the only one you're going to want to play. Puyo Puyo Sun. Princess Crown. What's that name? What's that? Asuka 120% Burning Fest Limited. Limit over if you can get it. Lot of good Saturn shit, and I was just not thinking at the time. Just my brain was not firing on all cylinders that day. Oh yeah, and Guardian Heroes, but doesn't matter. You can get the Xbox Live Arcade one that's super awesome. This is really awesome. The Xbox Live Arcade released that game, but still, Saturn. That's the thing. Kids these days, they need more Saturns. I hear I say that word weirdly. Whatever. Anyway, this is Gel. I have rambled excessively, and I hope you've enjoyed. If you haven't, my deepest apologies. See ya!